Purplle started in December of 2011. So when we were looking for opportunities, we realized that beauty retailing, was restricted to, let's say, metros. And there were very, very good reasons of why beauty retailing was not in great shape in tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4 cities. The internet was the de facto choice.
Took a couple of cities of Kerala.
India is not one sort of uniform country. People are leaving tons of data on the internet. Till we were sure that we have enough data, we will not take a single promoter from any brand. I think if you want to make any business that is meant for succeeding in future, you have to think about differentiation from day one.
Welcome back to another Power Packed episode in the C Series podcast by Masters Union. Today we are joined by someone who's redefined the way India shops for beauty. He's built a dominant name in the personal and beauty space. Mr. Manish Taneja is the CEO and co-founder of Purplle. Started very early on as a bootstrap venture, and Purplle right now is more than a unicorn. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Manish, and it's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you, and happy to be here.
Manish, I'll start from your early journey, right? You exited college, worked roughly for nearly 4 years, and ended on becoming the co-founder of Purplle. You started, right? And it has been a long journey, 14 years and counting, correct? As an advice to upcoming entrepreneurs, right? How have you faced the difficult hurdles? How have you improvised on the brand? How have you taken it to where it is today? If you can brief that journey, we'll be really happy to know.
No, wonderful. It's now 14 years and few months. Purplle started in December of 2011. We were just three guys who came together, and we thought, we came from middle class backgrounds in different parts of India. So I grew up in Faridabad. My co-founder Rahul grew up in Cuttack and Angul in Odisha. And my third co-founder Suyash grew up somewhere in Chhattisgarh. I think, when we were looking for opportunities, we realized that beauty retailing, was restricted to, let's say, metros. And there were very, very good reasons of why beauty retailing was not in great shape in tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4 cities, which is where we came from. And especially more so for middle class of India. And we thought, what would be the best way to, shape this and influence this over the next 10 years? And we thought internet would be the best way to deliver products to consumers. When we were choosing of entering the space, which is beauty, we had 2 or 3 criteria in mind. And I think every entrepreneur who gets into a business perhaps should have those criteria. I think the first criteria was how large is the market? Typically if the market is very large and you can take a tiny share of that market, you can actually end up building a large business. And we never wanted to build a lifestyle business. We had excellent jobs that we were in. And hence, building a lifestyle business was not on the cards for us. I think second, in any business, we look at, what sort of profit pools exist in that business, what's the gross margin of that business. And hence, your ability to make money in that business comes next. And third, I would say important criteria was, how is the customer behavior? Do customers repeat or do they shop one time? For example, if you were to set up a furniture business, it would be very different from setting up a beauty business, right? Because furniture buying is probably once in 5 years, whereas beauty buying is probably once every 2 or 3 months.
Right.
So, given we had limited money, which is basically savings of our working life, we thought, we would get into beauty as a space because it met all the 3 criteria. So it is a large business to be in. It will be even larger in future as our GDP per capita grows and people tend to spend on personal care and beauty as a category. It has very good profit pools, and therefore to be able to build a sustainable business is quite highly possible in this space. And third, as I said, it's a high repeat category. So given it met all those criteria, we thought we would get into it. And then internet was the de facto choice because, offline was not the way to feed this market 15 years ago in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So we said online is the first way to go. And then over a period of time, as we become a strong brand in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, we would start setting up our stores, which is what we've started doing last year. So as of now, we operate, I think, close to 70 stores and opening, a number of stores every month. We have stores in Kochi, Palakkad, you know, East Delhi, West Delhi, Ghaziabad, you name it. Uh, I think 10 stores in Calcutta, 3 stores in Siliguri. Um, yeah, look, so I mean that's been the journey. I think the initial years were spent doing the work because it was very few of us in a small 100 square feet office. I think over a period of time our roles have evolved. Uh, we've become more, I would say, delegation of work has become very important. And I think a core part of our job is decision making. And a core part of our job is actually giving context to people so that they can take decisions as if we were in their positions, we would have taken those decisions. So I think just communicating a lot more with your next level and the next level, explaining them the context of why we will do certain things, when we will do those things. And then I think delegating to them and making sure that we spend a lot of time on hiring the right talent are sort of how our roles have evolved over a period of time. And here we are. So we now have, I think, close to 4,000 people who work directly or indirectly for us.
That's a massive workforce.
Yeah, look, it's a decent sized workforce. I think over half of this workforce is women, which we're very proud of because we think if women participation in workforce does not increase, then India's GDP will not increase at the same rate at which we expect it to grow.
Right.
Yeah, look, and we probably create maybe 10,000 jobs. So we're happy for where we are, but I guess we're just getting started. So if the ambition is to be the biggest beauty company from India for the world, I think we are just getting started, and hopefully you will see a lot more from us in the next 10 years.
I think that's a very fantastic journey with a very large and broad vision with such high clarity. You took a couple of cities of Kerala, right? Does that mean Purplle tracks a lot of people from Kerala? Are we like very hit in Kerala?
Look, so the approach we've taken over a period of time to grow is that, India is not one sort of uniform country. I think India is a collection of, 25, 30 different kinds of people.
Absolutely.
So we divided India into states and we said, why don't we go after winning market share state by state? One of the ways in which you win market share, or I would say two important ways in which you win market share is one, you focus your marketing on a particular area.
Right.
And second, you provide people significantly better service than what competition provides, and hence you're able to win market share.
Correct.
So you're right, Kerala is a very important state for us. We have a very high market share in Kerala amongst the online players and probably soon amongst the offline players as well. The reason is we chose to communicate in Malayalam, and most of Malayalam gets consumed in Kerala. Kerala is this unique state where Christians, Hindus, and Muslims all speak Malayalam.
Correct.
And second, Kerala has this unique topography where it's not easy to access Kerala. It has got water bodies, it has got mountains, and then it has got regular towns. And so we ended up building our own logistics capability in Kerala to almost 50 to 60 cities where we deliver overnight to them. So I think we were faster in delivery in Kerala than any other player was, and hence I think market share became an outcome of that. We will follow the same approach in every other state we go. So, each state in India is a large opportunity. If you can win a high market share in each state, you'll end up winning a big market share in the country. So we are going after the higher GDP states in the country and trying to win them one by one.
Fantastic. So I want to go back again to your early days, right? 4 years of corporate experience, and then you eventually, and I think this is your second venture, right? You tried hands on something else, and then eventually picked this up, right? If I look at the current landscape, right, there are so many stakeholders which are involved, right? It could be your family, your friends, could be your spouses, right? And convincing all of them for a bold move, especially at that time, when internet was just starting up, and you plan to build a venture which is internet led, right? How did you navigate through this, and how did you convince people around you that, look, this is what I want to do, and I want to do this?
Yeah. I'll tell you, the journey started somewhere in my own office. So I used to work at Fidelity Growth Partners India, which is now called 8 Roads. And I toiled, I shared this idea with my seniors, and I told them, hey, is this something that you think is the right thing to do? And I think they were somehow extremely supportive. Um, and I think doing something of my own was always on the cards. I don't know why. I think there are some moments that inspire you. I think for me that moment was, so I studied at IIT Delhi in the years 2002 to 2007.
Right.
During that time, Airtel was a big brand in India. It continues to be a big brand in India. And Sunil Bharti Mittal, who's the founder of Airtel, had sponsored a big building which is called Bharti School of Telecom, or it was called Bharti School of Telecom. I'm not sure if it's called the same today. And I think to inaugurate that school, Manmohan Singh, who was our Prime Minister then, and Mr. Sunil Bharti Mittal had come to campus. That there was always this there was always this CDMA versus GSM
Right.
fight there, and I think I was very inspired by his vision for Airtel. I think Airtel has stood the test of time. And I think that was a moment where I felt I think entrepreneurship could be a great thing to do, and so it was always on the cards. Yes, you're right. This is my second venture. The first one I tried to start with a friend of mine in the space of providing information on companies and their work culture. I think that idea had limited target addressable market, and I think it's great that we didn't pursue that idea, and then I went back to Fidelity, and then a couple of years later, Purplle is an idea that germinated, and I think it's a much larger TAM. It's a much larger opportunity that we are going after. So I'm happy that I'm building Purplle for the last 14 years and hopefully for the next 20 years as well.
Lovely. During your journey, right, you draw a parallel with the furniture brand, and you said, hey, look, in furniture, your average repeat rate would be once in 5 years, 4 years, because of course the durability of the product, versus cosmetic, which will go around in 3 months and then you'll come again to the platform, right? Now, I also heard you in one of your videos that you said you could build your own brands which could help you drive high retention, low CAC, and of course on the top of your data engine, right?
Yes.
That there was your tech stack is that improved that it gives you recommendation on what to build, right? So my question over here would be around that when you build your own brand, and when there are likes of Procter and Gamble, HUL, all star-studded brands, right? How difficult is it to make your brand stand apart in such a crowded space?
Look, so I think, in the, like I would say 10 years ago, people used to do consumer research. I think even today people do consumer research, but I think today's consumer research can be aided by a lot of data that consumers like you and I are leaving on the internet.
Right.
For example, I think today, Chat GPT would know exactly what is on our minds because we are giving it prompts, very detailed prompts, and it understands, while it's helping us do our tasks better, it also understands what's happening in the market, right? Likewise, when you search for anything on YouTube, YouTube exactly knows what you are looking for. And likewise, that's true for content you're watching on Instagram or
YouTube for
you
that.
know, or searches on Google, or kinds of blogs you're reading, or any other things. So, and likewise, when you search on Purple, we exactly know what are the things you're looking for. So I think because we are three engineers who started the beauty business, we look for data points as exhaustively, as comprehensively as possible, so that we make a very informed choice of the areas we are going after. For example, in hair care, I would say there are broadly three concerns that consumers look to solve. Apart from just washing your hair, I think one concern could be tackling hair fall. Second concern could be tackling dandruff. Third concern could be tackling frizzy and dry hair.
Right.
Now, the reason you can win against large companies, and you named a few, is because large companies don't catch trends early, because any company which is large loses the agility that a entrepreneur has, and typically by the time they react to any opportunity, it is 3-4 years late, and hence it always gives room for entrepreneurs to build a reasonable size business in that period. And after that, you also have enough capital, hopefully, if you have a differentiated business, where you can also compete with them on ad spends, on hiring people, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying it's an easy journey, but I think you can look for data. People are leaving tons of data on the internet. And basis that, you can make a very informed choice of what space you want to get into. Like I mentioned, within the hair care space, there could be three. And then, once you know that you're going after a space which is typically ignored by the large uh, companies in your space, I think, you have to think about how will you differentiate your brand. Um, I don't think any space is cluttered in India, to be honest. I think India is one of the least branded markets in the world. If you were to visit the Seoul airport in South Korea, I'm sure you will find 200 beauty brands at the airport. I'm sure you would only know of 5 of them. So I think none of those brands, those 195 brands, exist in India. So I think India is a very unbranded market still. Um, and I think there is a lot more that brands can do in India, as long as the founders of those brands or brand managers of those brands are creative enough, and as long as you go after a niche which is ignored by, let's say, the large FMCG companies in our space. And then over a period of time, as you get large, you also have the resources that they have to sort of compete head on.
I think that is very insightful that way. You also spoke about, right, that how you are going offline, right, and eventually what started as an online business is moving towards an offline pattern as well, right? I have two questions here. First, how and when do you feel the need that you have to start opening offline stores? Because particularly, primarily, the brand started purely as an online marketplace, right? Second, uh, how do you make sure the look, feel, experience of the offline store with what you provide at the online store drives the same level of sales or experience that way?
So, how do we decide to open a store? I think, again, because we are engineers, we look at data. So, there are many PIN codes in the country where our household penetration, which is how many households in that PIN code have ordered from us online in the last 3 to 6 months, is very, very high. Let's say 25%, which means 1 in every 4 households in India in that PIN code, or a collection of PIN codes, let's say 5 PIN codes, is ordering from us. We know that we have a very high market share in that PIN code. Now, any consumer, let's say if an average consumer who's in our target addressable market spends about 10,000 rupees a year on beauty and personal care, I'm sure online she would be spending 2 to 3,000 rupees, and another 6 to 7,000 rupees gets spent offline, because those are habits that are very old.
Right.
So hence, if we want to capture a high market share in any PIN code or collection of PIN codes, opening a store is a great way. we have normally seen that when we open a store, our market share or our revenue from a selection of pin codes doubles. So yeah, look, we have data. We use that data to figure out where to open our store. And that's been the approach. So till we were sure that we have enough data, we didn't open too many stores. Uh, but I think now we have enough data on hundreds of pin codes in the country, and hence, you see stores in Palakkad and Kollam and Kochi and Siliguri and Ghaziabad.
I think that's a very classic use case of how do you monetize your data eventually to make very informed, well-informed decisions, probably boosting growth for the company, right?
And to your question on how do we ensure good customer experience, again, this is a thing that we did right from day one. So if you look at most beauty stores, or if you look at most departmental stores in India, most of them don't have their own staff.
Right.
Most of the stores in the beauty and personal care space have staff which is brand sponsored. Those are called beauty advisors.
Right.
But my sense is they are less beauty advisors.
Salesperson.
There's more salespeople, so
Yes.
they try to push their own brand. Now, whatever be the case, that's how historically the business was done. So therefore, what happens is in an 800 to 1,000 square feet store, you will end up seeing 10 or 15 salespeople in a store, but maybe one or two customers. I think it should be the opposite way, where you should see more customers and you should see less salespeople. So when we started our store journey, we said we will not take a single promoter from any brand. I always emphasize differentiation over scale. I think if you want to make any business that is meant for succeeding in future, you have to think about differentiation from day one. So in our stores, we don't have any brand promoters. What that means is we train now. We have 250 beauty advisors in our stores, all on our payroll. They are trained on multiple brands, and whenever a customer walks into the store, they decide what is the right solution to a customer's problem. Fantastic. And then they provide that product or service to consumers. So in that sense, we have a different store experience. In a sense, we have a store experience where two beauty advisors don't jump at you to sell you products from their own brand. There is one beauty advisor who understands your needs and then suggests you a product from any of the brands possible in the store. So, that's how we ensure that we provide people a nice and a very different store experience and a very efficient store experience. In fact, if I spend 30 minutes at our store, I will typically find that usually a group of people will walk into the store, let's say girls who are in college or maybe 25, 26-year-olds. As soon as they enter, the beauty advisor in our store asks them for what they're looking for. And I think within 15 minutes, they find what they're looking for. The billing is done, payments are done, and they're out of the store. Likewise, so usually in a 30-minute period, I would say 2 sets of customers will walk in, and within 15 minutes, their job is done and they walk out. So it's a very efficient experience.
High conversion.
It's a very high conversion experience. But at the same time, it's an experience where customer is treated first.
Right.
It's not A brand trying to win the customer versus B brand. A beauty advisor takes a call on what is right for you as a customer and then sort of helps you with whatever product she thinks is the right one.
I think that's a classic case study on how do you treat your customer, right? And finding the right problem, pitching the right solution, irrespective of where the
which brand it comes from.
Yes, absolutely. Manish, you spoke about group of women coming into the store and making a purchase. So this brings me to the section of millennials and Gen Z, who are going to be the primary customers right now for this space particularly, right? And this space, in my opinion, is very volatile, right? There are trends which keeps coming and goes and disappears, no one knows where, right? For example, Korean glass skin came in. There was a layer of ingredient-based cosmetic products, right? So I just want to know and pick your brain on that. Who is that one brand, or what should that one brand do to make sure they dodge all this trends wave and eventually, lead the charter for the next 50, 40, 60 years?
I think, look, Gen Zs are important customers. I call them chief beauty officers of their home.
Interesting.
Typically a 25-year-old girl or a 22-year-old girl will actually be advising her mom on what to buy. Uh, so she's a very important stakeholder. What can a brand do to, you know, stay the test of the time? I think, you have to, it comes down to your value system. For example, what are your values? You should ideally write them down. For example, for us, it comes to authenticity, it comes to affordability, and it comes to ensuring that you get globally the best products available at potentially Indian prices, right? So I think those are the three pillars on which we are building the Purplle brand. And let me come to authenticity first. So we make sure that we buy only from the brands directly and sell to the customers. So there are no intermediaries involved in between, and hence we've never had the case of people complaining about fakes. It's a very important part of our journey. Everything gets shipped from our own warehouses to the end customer. We try to own the experience as much as possible. So that is one pillar of the brand. I think affordability is the second key pillar because we cater to the middle class of India. We always make sure that while there is inflation happening in the country, we're able to keep the prices of our products stagnant. We've not increased prices for many of our products of the brands that we own, over the last 5 or 6 years. So it's been just constant pricing for the last 5 or 6 years because whatever inflation happens, we try and do some value improvement on top of it and ensure that our cost remains the same. And if our cost comes down, we actually pass on the benefit to the consumer. So we bring down the selling price of our products. And third, you have to go with the trends. The consumer living in Mumbai has access to the same content as a consumer living in Ranchi has.
Right.
And she has the same aspiration of similar products that she wants to buy that somebody in Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore is buying, but potentially doesn't have the wallet to afford it. And hence, Purplle works towards making sure that she is able to fulfill her aspiration but without hurting her pocket. So I think as a brand, trends will come and go, but I think your value system will stay intact. And as long as that value system is something that you're true to, I think you will end up building a good brand over the decade. Initially, it can be a tough time, but I think compounding over 10 years is amazing. And, it's actually something that most people don't understand. For example, we will add as much revenue in FY26 that we took almost 11 years to get to. So in 1 year, we will add as much revenue and much higher gross margin than what we did in the first 10, 11 years of our journey. So, that's the magic of compounding. It's not
Right.
something that I'm doing unique that others can't do. I just think that, you have to stay patient. You have to stay true to your values. And I think then over a period of time, things fall into place. And then, as long as you stay true to your values, consumers keep loving you and keep giving you more share of their wallet.
So I think staying true to your key values is the key, right? Now this brings me to the other side of the story, right? Now when you constantly do this, and of course when you said the revenue you'll add in this year is equal to the revenue you've earned so far, right? It also gives a very good smile and good impression out to the public and the investors as well, right? And you've had a fantastic long fundraising journey. At Masters Union, right, as a part of VIP Challenge, students actually build their own products and they pitch it to VCs, right? So I would just want to understand any key lessons you would have to share to people, right, during your entire fundraising journey as to what should you do right, what you should avoid, right, in this entire process so that people eventually learn the nitty-gritties of the process.
I think the first thing is, VCs are managing somebody else's money.
Right.
VCs are called GPs, general partners. They get money from their investors who are called LPs or limited partners. So they have a fiduciary responsibility to return this money back to them with returns um to their investors. So whenever a startup is pitching to a VC firm or a private equity firm, I think there are two or three key things that I think they would look for. I think the first one is, ethics and integrity of the founder. I think VCs would do a very good diligence on you in terms of, whether you will use this money for the right purpose or whether you will siphon this money off for the wrong reasons.
Right.
I think for that to happen, usually I have seen VCs go back to my school teachers and speak to them about how I was as a student, and I think they've done an incredible job of diligencing the founders. They will speak to people you have worked with, and so on and so forth. I think the second thing that VCs, once that is a check, that yes, this founder is ethical, yes, this founder has high integrity, I think they will look for whether your idea is differentiated or not. Because let's say if there are 20 sneaker brands in the country and you're building the 21st sneaker brand in the country, there needs to be a reason of why you will sell. What is so different about you? It cannot be a minor differentiation, it has to be a significant differentiation. Otherwise, your cost of marketing is high, you don't have any differentiation against a large player, let's say like Nike or Puma or Adidas, and hence, why should people buy your product? So I think differentiation is key. Uh, I think it's also important that you understand, like I said, VCs are in the business of investing money and then returning money. So I think every VC will have this as a question for you, saying, how will I get an exit from your venture? Because my job is not to stay invested for 20, 30 years. While as a founder, you may want to build this business for 20, 30 years. My job is to invest in 2020 and potentially exit by 2026 or 27 or 25. So how do I get exit? Because exiting private companies is not easy. And so, as a founder, you know that these are your fiduciary responsibilities. You have to enable this to happen for them. And, they look for that kind of maturity. They look for differentiation in the business. They look for differentiation in the brand. And most importantly, I'm sure they look for ethics and integrity in a founder, and they do enough diligence on you to figure this out.
I think that's very helpful for people out there, who are planning to raise money as to what should they do right? I'll take a step back now, right? We spoke about what you should do or what you shouldn't do, when you're about to raise money. But, in this market where raising money is become a common fad, right? I also want your 2 cents on who should actually raise money to grow a business and who shouldn't.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think there are business models that need money to scale. For example, any platform or marketplace you build, typically you will be able to monetize this much later. And so for the first 5 or 6 years, you end up investing money to take it to a certain scale before you can monetize it. Whereas if you're looking to set up a services business where you provide services and then you hire more people who will provide services under your umbrella, usually those businesses don't need too much capital. Right. So, you should look at whether a business needs external capital or not. And if yes, how much external capital does it need? Because not every business needs a lot of capital. There are some business models which need a lot of capital. For example, if you want to set up your own bank, you have to put in a lot of equity. Either you have to put that equity as your own or you have to raise equity from private equity firms. Likewise, if you're building a marketplace, a two-sided marketplace, it typically needs a lot more capital initially. I don't think fundraising is, you should spend time on fundraising unless you absolutely need to do so. Because I think you are parting with your equity in the business.
Right.
Equity gone is gone always. You can never claim it back.
Right.
You will always, as you scale your business, you will always want to have high ownership in your business. And so, part with your equity very carefully. It's not something that you've got to be super happy about, that, you've raised money. raising money means you are taking a liability on you to return that money with a very high rate of return, because it's equity money. So, raise equity capital only when you need to. Raise equity capital only when your business needs equity capital. And when you raise equity capital, then I think be very disciplined with the use, because every 1 crore, 2 crore that you burn, you are parting away with your equity, which you will never get back. So, just be very judicious with how you spend that money, and be aware that within a period of 4 or 5 or 6 years, you will have to return that money back alongside returns. So, yeah, look, that's what my comments are.
No, I think very helpful. Uh, you've come a long way in your entrepreneurship journey, right? I think it's been a fantastic 15-year and plus for you, right? If you have to give two advices to your younger self, maybe someone who's just starting up or 6 months pre starting up, right? What would that two advices be? And just want your opinion on that.
I think when we started, like I said, we were just three guys who came together and started a beauty business. We thought we would give it 3 or 4 years, and then see how it plays from there. I think if I were to give advice to my own younger self, I would say, commit to 10 years, because nothing meaningful happens in 3-4 years in India. For most people, look, there could be one or two outliers, but for most companies, I think they take 10, 20 years to become really meaningful. So play the long game. When you play the long game, there is no fear of missing out, which means you will not take short-term decisions. You will always take decisions from a long-term point of view, which means you will not give away your equity for, growing very, very fast. You will use that equity money even more judiciously than what I have used in the past. Though I would say we've done a great job, I think we could have been even more efficient with our equity. And I think third, I said this earlier, I think from day one, I would focus on how can I build a differentiated brand versus trying to scale from day one. I think these are sort of three things that I would tell my younger self.
And interesting. And you started off with this, three of you joined together, right? I think I should have asked you right at the beginning, but how critical and how crucial is to find the right co-founders? And so I've heard somewhere someone said that finding co-founder is more difficult than finding a right partner for your life, right? Just want your story of it, and how difficult and how crucial is it to have the right set of people building something together?
Uh, you know, um, I can tell you how we came together. So it is pure serendipity. Rahul and I were both looking for a flat to live in South Bombay, and some common friends introduced us, and we decided to stay together.
And this is during your time at Avendus.
This is my time at Fidelity.
Fidelity.
And given that we now met each other every day in the evening, we ended up started discussing. We ended up having debates on our value systems, and I told him that I was thinking of leaving my job and starting something in the beauty space. He also shared that he was also very keen to leave his job and do something in the entrepreneurial space. And then I think he happened to be an extremely mature and straightforward guy. So starting up with him was natural. We had spent 2 years knowing each other, although we had not worked with each other directly. He obviously had great pedigree. So, grew up in Cuttack and Angul, went to IIT Kharagpur, then went to IMA, joined the Tatas from IMA, and was working on some very exciting things there. And then, we had one of our angel investors who introduced us to Suyash, who's our third co-founder. Although Suyash happens to be from the same batch at IIT Kharagpur as Rahul, perhaps they didn't know each other too well. So we got introduced over a meal, and I asked Suyash just one question in Hindi. I asked him, "Tu kar lega na tech?" And he said, "Haan, main kar lunga." And then I think we just shook hands and started. So I think, when you meet people, you find that somebody clicks and somebody doesn't. I think there is a lot of chemistry that goes into it. It's a hard decision. But I think we took that leap of faith way back in 2011. And, so far it stood the test of time, and we continue to work together and very efficiently, and we trust each other blindly. Um, I have referred to the three of, like in some of our fundraising sessions where Rahul and I are on Zoom calls, I think it is like Raina and Dhoni sort of playing together. So I can look into his eye on a small corner on the laptop and know when he wants to speak and when I should stop. So it's been a wonderful collaboration, something that I could not have asked for. So I think it's very important in a business to have co-founders. The reason is, you know, you don't want to live in your own echo chamber. You want somebody who's equal to you to come and question your assumptions, to come and question your thinking, to hold you back if you're going really, really aggressive, sometimes risky. Um, and also, I think, co-founders with, I would say, complementary skills bring a lot of value added inputs on different areas. So, for example, Rahul runs our offline business today and all our entire distribution business. Suyash supports both of us with technology and product and growth. I run our online business and also raise capital for the firm. So I think we bring these unique, I would say, capabilities, which I think it's hard to have in one person. I'm sure you can have one, but and during your 14-15 year journey that you think was fantastic, but I think it has its own share of ups and downs.
Right.
When you are down, when you are feeling low, you want somebody to tell you that, dude, I'll take care of it tomorrow, don't worry. So I think, it's important to have people who will have your back when things are not going your way, and co-founders are perfect people to have. Look, having said that, do founders split at some point in time? In many companies, I've seen that also happens, but at least we are committed for the next 15-20 years, so we will go all in.
I think that's a very great and easy playbook for anyone who's struggling to find a co-founder. And I think whatever you have summarized in 2-3 minutes is exactly what you need if you want to find the right co-founders. So I think we have come to the last segment of this podcast, and it has been significantly insightful so far. I just want to pick your brain on now what it's in store for Purplle for the next 5 years.
I think, I mean, usually we keep these goals private to us, but I think there are 2 or 3 things that we think we can achieve in the next, 3 to 5 years. Like I said, the real long-term ambition is to build the largest beauty company from India. I think we remain steadfast on that goal, over the next 5 years as well. But I think, in the near term, I think as we are becoming a large and larger company, I think going public is also one of the important milestones that we will surpass, I would definitely say, in the next 3 to 5 years. So, making sure that we have exceptionally good internal controls, making sure that we have high predictability in our business, making sure that we deliver a great ROI on the investments we make, we become extremely good capital allocators, we become extremely good at selecting people and getting them to do what they love doing or what they are like exceptionally capable of doing. So look, I mean, bunch of things. I think long term, I would say 15-20 years, the ambition is to build the largest beauty company from India, be it online, offline, all those things don't matter. It cannot be only online because always a reasonably large part of market will be offline, and our categories need touch and feel, which can be best provided in an offline environment. But I think over the next 3-5 years, I think we continue to grow at a reasonably good growth rate and hopefully try and go public and become a public company and create value from there.
Wishing you all the best in your endeavor, and it was a great conversation, Manish. For me personally, I think I've learned what is to be done, when you're in the fundraising process, and of course on the nuance where you have to found your co-founders. So I think great chatting with you, and Thank you so much for your time.
Look, I'm not sure if you saw the values on the board there, but it says be humble and be hungry. So, hopefully we stay very, very humble, even when we succeed. And, hopefully the hunger in the belly stays alive, and, we continue to grow reasonably fast. Thank you.
Thank you.